Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World and welcome to my first ever bookshelf tour. So I recently hit 6,000 subscribers and a huge thank you to everyone that subscribed, whether you are a brand new subscriber and one that helped me to get to the 6,000, or whether you are an oldie but goldie and been around for a while. Huge thank you to everyone that has subscribed, means the world. And I usually, each time I hit 1,000 subscriber milestone, I usually just show you one shelf on my bookcases, but when I took to Instagram to ask what shelf you'd like to see, I think I got one or two of every single shelf, and there wasn't like one standout shelf that people wanted to see, so I thought I'll just do an overview of the whole bookcase, well, bookcases. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will be showing a couple of books on each shelf in greater depth. Huge thank you again to everyone that subscribed. Thank you so much and enjoy the bookshelf tour. Right, so this is the first bookcase that I'm going to talk about. Now this is a half bookcase, so in here we've got drawers that has my games and stuff in. But this bookcase is essentially all about women's rights and predominantly the women's suffrage movement. At the top I've got two tote bags, one that's fallen down and one up there, and then we have two of the Little People Big Dreams books. We have an Emmeline Pankhurst one right in the middle, and then of course famous suffragette, and then of course Rosa Parks on the other side. And you might be like, Rosa Parks, civil rights activist, Lil? And I was like, yes, but she also did lots of stuff for women's rights too, so that's why she's there. And then this space, you might be like, oh, you've got a space there. This space is for a Simone de Beauvoir book. They have a Little People Big Dreams one of a Simone de Beauvoir one, which I want to get my hands on, so at some point I will be getting that. The next shelf has some PlayStation stuff on it, which is my other half, and then I cover it up with this Emmeline Pankhurst poster, Deeds Not Words. And then this side, it's historical fiction. It was just suffragettes and suffrage movement, but my other historical fiction shelf is full, so I've started to use this one. My favourite book on here is this one, Crooked Pieces, and highly recommend that if you want a book about women's suffrage. It's really good. The next shelf is predominantly non-fiction on the women's suffrage period. I have lots of different books. Some are just biographies of certain people. I have the manifestos as well. These are really cool and I want to make some bunting with them and stuff. I also have my DVDs here on the women's suffrage movement. So I have my favourite film, which is Suffragette. Then I have the Lucy Worsley documentary, which they won a BAFTA for, which is great. And then Up the Women is a brilliant comedy that they had on the BBC. It's written by Jessica Haynes and stars Jessica Haynes, about the women's suffrage movement, and yeah, wonderful. And there's posts that I bought in London for the Museum of London when they had an exhibition. They had a talk on, essentially, I can't say the word, on women's suffrage. So I bought this beautiful poster by the artist Alison Gardner. So there's that shelf. And then the bottom shelf is the original shelf. This is what the original shelf was, but it just grew because I've got too many books. So this shelf is, again, predominantly non-fiction, but I do have a graphic novel. This is a brilliant graphic novel on the women's suffrage movement, as you get. So a couple of standout books for me has to be this one. This is brilliant. It's actually for children, but it's fantastic. This book, Rise Up Women by Diane Atkinson, is like, if you're going to get one book on the women's suffrage movement, get this one. Trust me, it's brilliant. And I have a whole host of different things. I also have my little suffragette here, my little toffee hammer, which is great. And then at the end here, I have, well, first of all, I have my pass for the underground, because I always lose it, so I keep it on this shelf. And then I have a few books. So I have Simone de Beauvoir extracts from The Second Sex, just extracts because that book is huge. I read it for my undergrad. It's big. Then I have Mary Wollstonecraft, Vindication of the Rights of Women as well, which is really interesting. And yeah, that's a shelf. And actually, this is one of my favourite shelves. I absolutely love this shelf. I think she makes it. So yes, that's my women's rights, however, predominantly suffrage-based shelf. Now, the next two shelves, these two, as you can see, are in this colour, but they will eventually be replaced with the white Billy bookcases that I have for the rest of my bookshelves. So I'll start over this side. Okay, firstly up here I have the complete Colin Dexter box set. I also have the Song of Ice and Fire box set, Horrible Histories, Jeeves and Wooster poster back there, which is really tall and doesn't fit anywhere, Agatha Christie magazines, and then, a bit confusing, but I have my non-fiction history books starting from the Stuarts. You'll see the others as we go round. I have this mug, which I love. It's Horrible Histories, the gorgeous Georgians, which I've shown before. So yeah, this is my Stuart into Georgian books. My favourite on the shelf has to be this one. This was actually one of my favourite books of the year. I think it was 2016. King's Mistress, Queen's Servant, The Life of Times, Henrietta Had by Tracy Borman. A fascinating book. Everyone should read this book. It's amazing. She was a mistress, but she became a mistress to get away from her husband, who was an abusive turd, shall we say. And it's such a powerful book, and you should definitely read it. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book. I also really like The Scandalous Lady W by Hallie Ravenhold. And she was fascinating as well, because of course her husband was a bit unusual and she ended up having an affair. But her husband went and sued her lover, sort of thing, because women were property. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, love those books. But as you can see, I have lots of books on the shelf. Moving on downwards, I'm heading into the Victorian period now. My favourites of which, these two here, I don't know why my favourites end up together, but The Ladies of the Manor, How Wives and Daughters Really Lived in Country House Society Over a Century Ago by Pamela Horn. Pamela Horn has a really good writing style, and I have another one by her which I'll show you in a bit, but I haven't read that yet. This one was brilliant, and I actually have a whole review of this one. And then this one I adore as well. Blue Stockings, The Remarkable Story of the First Women to Fight for an Education by Jane Robinson. Wonderful book. Wonderful, wonderful book. As I said, don't know why they're together. It's just worked out that way. I think I might do, you know, my series, So You Want to Be a blah, blah, blah. I might do So You Want to Be a Blue Stocking. Let me know if you'd like to see that. Then I have a picture of me and Kate Williams from Cheltenham Literature Festival. Hi. Yeah, I'm a bit sad because I got that printed out, but I don't care. This is the other book that I have by Pamela Horn on flappers. I should say this isn't all the books that I have non-fiction wise. I have a lot more, but they're in my loft, and these are just the ones that I have out. Then moving on downwards, if I Benzini's, these are my hardbacks and kind of just generally big books, which as you can see just spread everywhere. Favourites, this is really good. The King's Bed, Sex, Power and the Court of Charles II, which is about his mistresses. Wonderful. This is also really good. The Life of Henrietta Anne, the Daughter of Charles I by Myrnie Clegg. Brilliant biography. Love this. I also really love this. The Countess. The Scandalous Life of Frances Villiers, Countess of Jersey by Tim Clark. This is a brilliant, brilliant book. And this was also brilliant. I'm just going to say this was brilliant because this is my favourite non-fiction book of all time. I know, it's not Tudor, it's Georgian, but it's Janice Hadlow, The Stranger's Family, The Private Lives of George III, Queen Charlotte and the Hanoverians. Amazing book, made me cry. But yeah, there's so many great books on there. Then moving on down, we have, look, space. As I said, these aren't all my non-fiction books. I have some in the loft, and these are space for it to grow, but I'm trying to keep a hold of books because I'm worried that the books in the loft are just going to sit there and I won't get to them again, but I'm not great at rereading non-fiction, need to do it more often. But yeah, I have some books here, and then these are some books that I use for university, like I use this for my undergrad and stuff. And these are books that I've read recently-ish and don't fit on that one. Then moving down, this shelf and this shelf is my History of Fashion bookshelves, which I'll be doing a whole video on soon. I also have some books on Coco Chanel and my little Barbie book selection. I only have a few, but I'm really interested in the history of Barbie, so I've got those. And as I said, I will do a whole video on history of fashion at some point. Then moving on to this shelf at the top, I have, these are programs from when I went to see stuff. So this is my program from when I went to see The Mousetrap at the West End. Amazing. And other books, hardback books as well. Poirot by David Suchet is amazing. This is the thing, it's a cat, but I wear it for a neck pillow when I travel. Then we have my Horrible History magazines, 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I don't have a thingy. And these are some BBC History magazines too. That's where they're kept. I love rereading these. It keeps me changing and challenging myself to different areas of history, so I really like that. The next shelf is my Woodhouse shelf. So I have all of the Jeeves and Wooster series, all the Blanding series, some standalones, and of course some Room to Grow. I have read all of the Jeeves and Wooster series a few times, some of them only once, but do really, really like the series. Blandings I'm working my way through, and I've read A Damsel in Distress out of these ones, so I've got these 3 to read. But I love P.G. Wodehouse. Moving down, I have my Patricia Wentworth. These are the Miss Silver books. Love them. So these ones are ones that I've read, and then these are ones that I have left to read. So eventually they'll go and I'll have room for some of her standalones there. But I absolutely love them. They've started to reprint some of them in these really pretty new editions, which I think look beautiful. And I want to collect more of, but they are quite expensive. But I would like to replace my copy of Latter End because it sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean, I don't think it's bad, but it's not the same as the others. So I'd like to replace that one with one to match these ones. But yeah, I do really like them. I think the covers are fab. I mean, look at that. Isn't it nice? I'm going to do a whole video on where to start and favourites of these soon as well, so stay tuned. Then moving on down, I have my Barbara Pym section. Love Barbara Pym, one of my favourite authors. Favourites of which, Excellent Women, highly recommend. Jane and Prudence, highly recommend. Actually, just all of them in general, highly recommend. I have my Excellent Women mug. And then I have my Dean Street Pressford Middlebrow books. These two are sticking out because I have to read them, but I've read all the rest of them and love them. My favourites of which are Begin Again and Company in the Evening, both by Ursula Orange, both 5-star. And then I have my Bloomsbury Group book series, which I think looks so pretty together. Love them. I haven't read many. I've read Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris and Love Shadow, but I can't wait to get to the rest of them. Awesome books. Then moving down, you'll see a bit more space. So I have books about books here, a small collection of D.E. Stevenson. These books, again, quite expensive, so don't buy many of. Some Marjorie Sharp. As you can see, there was some Marjorie Sharp up there in the Furrowed Middlebrow Dean Street Press books. But I do love Marjorie Sharp. Really, really like her. And again, these books are really expensive, so I do have one on the way, actually. I've got the Nutmeg Tree on the way. Then these books over here are kind of like vintagey books. So I have like Diary of a Provincial Lady and stuff, but then I have some actual like proper vintage looking books, which some look really, really nice. Like I really like this edition of Invitation to the Waltz. And this is The Doll's House by Henry Ibsen, which just sits under there. The next shelf I'll kind of gloss over because this is my university stuff, so my laptop and different books and stuff, including, look at that, I've got a tiny stapler there. I'm not quite sure why. And then this shelf is comic books. So the ones from here onwards, they are my fiance's. They're his, but I have read some of them. Like I've read the Justice League ones. both of them, 1 and 2. I can't remember if I've read any more. Oh, I've read some Rick and Morty as well. Wasn't the biggest fan. But then all the rest are mine. I also have some Snot Girl up there, which I highly recommend, which is kind of like a thriller stuff, and it's really good. It's influencers and it's fun. I love Wonder Woman. You can see I've got my Wonder Woman stuff here. Really love Wonder Woman. But I also love Poison Ivy, and any like Poison Ivy that I can get my hands on, I do, because I think it's great. So yeah, those are those 2 shelves, non-fiction, fiction. The next shelves are my Agatha Christie / cozy crime shelves, all the way down to the bottom. As you can see, they are the same as the ones that's got the women's rights. So they match. Now I've got puppy's toys and a puppy. Here he is. Okay, so starting off at the top, I have my Agatha Christie DVDs. Some of them, not all of them. My Poirot is currently out because I have been watching. Then I have a Georgette Hare book, which looks really pretty, and an Agatha Christie, The Little People, Big Dreams. This is a Christmas dog that turns on and we call Rolo. And then the first shelf is my facsimile shelf of the Agatha Christie books. Each time I want to read an Agatha Christie, I'm buying myself a new standalone a lot of the time now, if I can afford to. They're quite expensive though. I'd like to collect them all. And then I have A is for Arsenic back there. This is a graphic novel on Agatha Christie, which is fun. And then the quotable Marple, quotable Poirot, and then my mugs. And then these were made by Ange from Beyond the Pages, and she sent them to me and I love them. Then shelf down I have my Miss Marple print. I have the Miss Marple radio plays, and then behind that I have Mousetrap short stories, and then my Miss Marple with Miss Marple bag. Tommy and Tuppence. Some standalone, some of the others are in the loft, but they're a different version. Some books on Agatha Christie, and then I have audiobooks and Mary Westmacott and notebooks and stuff. And then I have Poirot short stories, CDs, all of the Poirot books behind, of course, Poirot himself. These are the Poirots. I love these editions, they're beautiful. And then I have my graphic novels. I love these so much. They're brilliant. Then up here I have my Rosemary and Thyme books. They're really fun. They only did 3 of them though, but I love Rosemary and Thyme. So if you love Rosemary and Thyme, check the books out. Then I have one of the Dean Street Press books and my Nancy Spain. Really enjoyed this. Then I have my Georgette Hare Frost books. There's 6. There's the one back there. Then we have some Edmund Crispin, Josephine Tay, Gladys Mitchell, Marjorie Allingham, British Library, crime classics, my favourite of which are the Mavis Dora Hay ones down here. I've also got my Mapping Lucia DVDs because I've been watching those too. And then at the bottom, he's sniffing the camera. You sniffing? I have my Dorothy L. Sayers paperbacks and hardback collection. You giving mummy loves? And then finally this big load of bookcases which you see. Where should we start? Should we start up here? At the top I have my Simpsons stuff. I love the Simpsons, so I've got a little collection of some stuff here, including a Bobbing Homer which I can't reach, and some mugs and stuff, and then a couple of Paddingtons too. Next down is my Jane Austen shelf. I have these wonderful pictures that I actually got from Bath, and they're done by a local artist and I love them. But you can't really see the books behind, although for some reason I've got a Simpson book there. But yeah, you can't really see the books behind because they're there, but I love it all the same. Then below that I have my Persephone shelf, and I've got Jodie Smith, my favourite Persephones, Patience by John Coates, and my favourite book ever, Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. I'm sure you know that by now. Why won't you go back in? Thank you very much. I have my Andrea Thurkel's my cup that I think is really pretty. I have another copy of Map and Lucia because I love that book. And yeah, wonderful, wonderful books. Also, this is a brilliant seftie as well. The Call by Edith Arden Zangwill, who was actually involved in the women's suffrage movement, and it's a book about the women's suffrage movement. Yes. Below that, more classics. Of course it is, because it's my bookshelves. We have the complete Nancy Mitfords there. And then I have next to it my Nancy Mitford mug and a couple of bookmarks. I love this one, Tiger Came to Tea. This book's really good, Business as Usual. Brilliant. It's got illustrations in it as well, and it's a book about a woman who works in a bookshop. It's great. By Penguin English Library. My F. Scott Fitzgerald. Some Molly Keane. I really like Devoted Ladies. That's really good. Beloved Elizabeth Taylor. I've read all of those. Favourites of which are Blaming. Love that one. Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont, which is down there. Love that one. What else do I love? I can't find it. There it is. A Soul of Kindness. Really love that one. Then I have this Cup and Saucer, which is Beatrix Potter. And then below that, behind these, I have, if I move them, I had some of the Wordsworth editions. Favourites, I really like 10 to Wildfowl Hall by Anne Bronte. It's a brilliant book. I have Fanny Hill by John Cleland, which I had to read for university, and oh my, there's drawings too. Then I have a couple of the really, really pretty Canterbury classics, the Word Clara classics, which I think are really pretty. Somewhere between a paperback and a hardback, aren't they? I'll put these back. So these are my Penguin cloth-bound classics. Beautiful, but impractical. I also have Tess of the D'Urbervilles, but it's not currently here. Then I have my vintage red spines. I've got lots of them. Favourites of which I really like The End of the Affair. There. I think that's great. Elizabeth and Her German Garden is great. I've done a full review of that one as well. Then I have these, which are the Penguin Deluxe editions. I have this beautiful copy of The Wind in the Willows. I love The Wind in the Willows. It was my favourite book as a kid, but I read it so much the pages fall out, so I bought this really pretty edition and various others. Then I have the Penguin Black spines. I haven't read many of these, but my favourite one is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, but Gentlemen Marry Brunettes by Anita Loos. Great book. Great book. Then I have some of the modern classics, favourites of which have to be Breakfast at Tiffany's, of course it does. And then a few of the white books, which are the Oxford ones, favourite of which is Wuthering Heights. I haven't read the other two, so hence why that's the favourite. Then moving on to Folio Society. I love this bookshelf. One of my favourites. I love these editions of Map and Lucia books. My favourite book series, but got lots of different beautiful books, including the Dorothy L. Sayers ones. I don't know why they don't match, but they don't. But hey ho. Moving on, I have more. Lots of great books. I have a beautiful Folio Society copy of Excellent Women. I love that. And Agatha Christie, of course, and then beautiful books here, including this amazing copy of The Secret Garden, which has like pulley out bits and stuff. Yeah, this is really cool. Looks like a paper dolly. Yeah, it's amazing. I have read it, but I like to keep it all looking pristine. Oh, and these are really nice, the Barnes & Noble ones, because on the back they have a quote, and this is my favourite quote from the book. So, yes, I have 2 copies of Wuthering Heights. Then above here I have my Beatrix Potter shelf. I have this book kind of shoved in because I keep coming back to it. This is a book that I saw when I got engaged, and I got engaged on a Beatrix Potter walk at a National Trust, and it was amazing. So I keep getting it out just to look at it. So I just pop it there. But I do have my own Peter, my own Jemima, the complete tales. I have books about her. Yeah, love Beatrix Potter. The next shelf is just generally classic children's books, essentially. So Wind in the Willows, Secret Garden. This is my favourite copy, and probably my favourite book, actual like physical book, not favourite story. That's Miss Pettigrew. But this was my mom's copy, and then she gave it me, so thank you. Then I have my Paddington shelf with a couple of actual Paddingtons to boot. I have my Royal Doulton. You'll get that joke if you've watched Keeping Up Appearances. I love Paddington. Then I have Harry Potter Illustrated, the ones by Jim Kay, and I've made this look all pretty, and obviously I'll keep going with those. Then I have my original Harry Potter, and I have Noble Collection Love Potion. I have a wand here, which is my favourite character, Severus Snape. And then below that, I have my graphic novels and comic booky type things, but not like superhero comics, that's the other side. So I have this brilliant book here, Lighter Than My Shadow, which is about eating disorder, so a bit triggering, but as someone who's had an eating disorder, I like to read to see how far I've come. Well done me. And there's other great books in there too, including this weird one of Gatsby when they're sea creatures. The next side at the top, I have my Elizabeth I shelf. She is my historical heroine. She gets her own shelf. I have this primary source evidence book, which is her works, like letters and stuff. I do really enjoy that. I also really love this book by Dr. David Starkey. This was my first book that got me into Elizabeth. I do enjoy books about Elizabeth and Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, so that's there. These aren't all my books on Elizabeth. Some of them are in the loft, but these are the ones that I like to have out. I have Elizabeth Bedfales by Anna Whitelock, which you should read. More books on Elizabeth. The Alison Weir one's really good too. Then I have my little Elizabeth here. An actual Elizabeth. I got her from Suley Castle, which is my favourite historic house. And Suley Castle, actually, Elizabeth went to for essentially a 3-day bender after she defeated the Spanish Armada. Then I have this. Now, this, for all you young people out there, is a VHS tape. I don't know if you'll know what a VHS tape was, but my late uncle found me this when he volunteered in a charity shop, and he got it for me, and I watched it again and again and again, and the more I learned about her, the more I disagreed with the documentary, but I just love it, and yeah, I'll never get rid of it. Look at the size of it, it's a tape. I don't even think kids watch DVDs anymore, do they? But yeah, that's a VHS tape. And then I have the beautiful Penguin Monarch series of Elizabeth I. This is written by Helen Castor, but look how stunning it is. And another book on Elizabeth I back there, because I have a problem. There she is. Then moving down, speaking of problems, I have this bookshelf on the 6 Wives of Henry VIII. Now, I have a mug, and these I get asked a lot. These are bunnykins, okay? Catherine Howard is a bit worse for wear, I don't know why, but these are bunnykins. They don't sell them anymore, but you can find them in like antique shops or vintage shops, kind of collectibles. You can find them online. And they're one for each wife. I also have Henry. I don't like Henry VIII. I think he's a turd on a stick, but in bunny rabbit form, isn't he cute? So yeah, I have them all. There they are on my 6 Wives shelf. So I have this. I have David Starkey and Alison Weir. Books on 6 Wives of Henry VIII there. I have a lot of different paperbacks. Again, not all the books, but some of them, the ones that I like to keep out. I really like the Elizabeth Norton ones. I think she writes really well. And I have the Alison Weir Lady in the Tower. That's great. The Fall of Anne Boleyn by Claire Ridgway is brilliant. This is the one you need to read on Anne Boleyn. They're all great. I could spend all day, but they're all great. Young and Damned and Fair. Good one on Catherine Howard. As is, where's the other one? Oh, there it is, right next to it, by Josephine Wilkinson. Come on, brain. These brilliant ones by Amy Lysant. This was like a brilliant one that I read by Joanna Denny. And then I bought myself a copy. And Yeah, I loved it. I used to get this out the library all the time. It just used to be me again and again getting it. But yeah, so many brilliant books on there. Below that, I have my historical fiction shelf. I have another copy of Jane as a bunny. Hello, Jane. And I have The Six Wives by Alison Weir. Alison Weir, the Elizabeth duology, I don't know, or Lady Elizabeth and the sequel. This one is really good. Not so much this one, but this one's great. And I love this series. Catherine Howard is the best one in my personal opinion so far. Then I have a bunch of different historical fiction books, mostly on the Tudor period that you can see, but hey ho. And some vintage ones here. 2 by Ursula Bloom. And then I have this postcard of Catherine Parr, which I've seen the actual painting of because it is at Cedar Castle. Then moving below that, we have my non-fiction history books, which kind of sort of in time, sort of not, bit of a mess. I'm not great at reading before Tudors, hence why there's a lot of a shorter amount here. And I haven't read many of these, but whoops. Then we go to more Middle Ages stuff. I do really like the Amy Licence book on Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. That was really, really good. And also Elizabeth Woodville, Lady Grey was really good too. Then I have, these are hardback books on the Tudor period. Favourites of which, Lorena Blanche, which was on Mary Tudor, Henry VIII's sister, not daughter, although there's a lot of Marys. I mean, if you get Mary Queen of Scots, she had a lot of ladies called Mary. So just call someone Mary, you can't go wrong. And below that, I have, I'll move these. These are yoga block and yoga stretch band thingies. But then I have Edward and Mary, both in the Penguin Monarch series. And then these are like my paperback books on the Tudor period. Again, I have quite a few. Favourites of which, ooh, it's tricky, isn't it? I really, really like... This is really good. Jane Boleyn by Julia Fox. This is really good. Henry VIII's Last Love. That's really good. This is a book that I'm still reading. Been reading this for about 10 years, but it's a book on the Dudleys. And I really like that. So, yeah. So many great books. I should also say, you'll see scattered around these 10 points if you can spot all 4. But this is just a little badge. But this is a Tudor lady. And I think she's so much fun. And I just sit her, oopsies, next to my Tudor books, if she will stand. Yes, stay. And then lastly, these ones. Used to hold DVDs, now holds books. At the top, Beast. Then I have Giant Days, my favourite comic book series, without a shadow of doubt. It is over, it is done, finito, but I have the whole series. I also have the YA book that came with it, even though I don't read YA, and the quotable Giant Days. If you like graphic novels, British humour, silly, about university, read them. They're wonderful. Then I have my Evelyn Waugh. I really think these are really pretty editions. Excuse me. Favourite of which? Vile Bodies. Love Vile Bodies. Wonderful satirical novel on the period. Then I have British Library Women Writers series. Now, I will have to have a change around on my shelves at some point because some more of these books are coming out in the series and I don't have room. Favourite of which of them are My Husband Simon by Molly Panta Downs. Loved that one. Tea is So Intoxicating by Mary Essex. Loved that one. Mary Essex, funny enough, is a pen name for Ursula Bloom. She wrote over 500 novels, did you know? Other favourite in this shelf has to be Father by Elizabeth von Arnhem. Wonderful book. Love Elizabeth von Arnhem. Cannot get it back in. Get it back in. Get it back in. Get it back in. Thank you. But I think they look really pretty. Then below that we have Farrago. I love Farrago with the spines. These are the 40th anniversary ones. The Weather in the Streets particularly was a favourite. This book I'd like to try again, but because it's in dialect, so I'd like to read it in audiobook version, which is Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I have some Rose Macaulay's and I have Anne Boston short stories. And then, as you can see, some room to grow. And then last but not least, I have classics that kind of just don't fit anywhere else, but I think look quite nice together. So I have The Tortoise and the Hare by Elizabeth Jenkins. I think this book is brilliant. As do As Spoons Came from Wars. I also really like that book too. And then I haven't read the rest. But yeah, really looking forward to reading all of these. And that, my friends, is my bookcases. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give a thumbs up if you have and chat to me all things bookish in the comments. Bye for now.